in terms of people actually starting to reconnect and grow new capacities and confidence and capabilities in this thing we call creativity. One of the first barriers you have to get through, talk to, help people get over, is this idea of the myths around creativity that are about, I'm not a creative person, I don't believe in creativity, it has no value, ideas are easy, etc. And so, we've started to talk about BIF and put it out there, and I thought, one of the things we should be talking to is these myths and actually busting these myths. So rather than just speak to them generically and talk about them, I thought it might be worthwhile I've been thinking about and trying to articulate what are those top 5 creative myths that prevent people even making the smallest step forward into this urgent need to rediscover, to reconnect, to grow new confidence in creativity. And so, in no particular order, the 5 creative myths that we want to bust are: number 1, that creativity is a rare talent, a rare and special talent that only a few have. Let's bust that right now. Number 2, creativity can't be taught, that you either are or you aren't. And sadly, for most people, by the time they grow into adulthood, they have come to believe that they aren't. And therefore, the barrier is that it can't be taught, it can't be retaught, you can't reconnect with it. Utter. Number 3, that ideas are actually the easy part. This idea that or the notion that, ideas are easy, it's making ideas happen or doing the real business, the coalface stuff, that's the hard part. Let's bust that. There's also this thing out there that in business, there's sort of hard and soft skills. And so the belief is that, creativity is just one of those soft skills. We don't really need it. It's the hard skills that matter, the profit, the loss, the project management, the technical proficiencies, that hard stuff. No, creativity is becoming an urgent hard skill that everyone needs. So that's number 4. And then number 5, especially around the next gen work, there's a belief out there that creativity won't get me the job. That if I learn accounting, I'll become an accountant. If I learn architecture, I'll become an architect. If I do an apprenticeship to become a builder, I'll be a builder, a plumber, etc. These functional skills that sort of you learn and then go on and do that in your career. With the rise of automation and robotics, one of the key skills and talents everyone is going to need is this capacity to solve problems through the substance of their ideas. Creativity. So that's number 5. Creativity will get you the job. So let's go through them in order and just bust each one open and speak to them. So number 1, the first creative myth we want to bust is that creativity is a rare talent. There's a real belief when you go into any enterprise. First off, there's an ideas person, so there's a belief in the business that there is 1 or 2 people throughout the whole organization are just those ideas people. Let's go to them for some ideas. And it's 1, yes, there are people like that, but 2, we all have that capacity in some way. Creativity is not just a special talent, divined on the very few. It's a talent that we all have. That comes from born of the belief that creativity is either something you are or you aren't. You're either born with this talent or you're not. Now, we should say, first off, that, BIF, fundamentally, at the heart, at our DNA, at our essence of what we believe is that everyone is creative. Everyone can reconnect with their own unique creativity. The amount of ideas, the amount of creativity we can have is infinite, and everyone has that talent. That's number 1. But we should be clear that BIF is not. We're not talking about the artistic expression of creativity. We say this over and over because yes, those artistic talents of creativity are magical and beautiful. Music, poetry, art, performance, etc., etc. They are fantastic expressions of creativity, but that's not actually what we're talking about here. What we're talking about with BIF and BIF creativity is the capacity to think, do, and be creative. To collaborate your unique creative talent through the innovation process to realize new value for you, for others, for the business, for your life, for our world, etc. So why is it that we can bust this myth that creativity is not a rare special talent only given to the very few. It's because, first off, creativity is a thinking talent. It comes from the neuroscience. It's what we're fired and wired for, or wired and fired for. And so we say at BIF, if you have a brain, you are a creative person, right? Because it's how your brain is wired. It's what we're wired for. We are wired for connecting disparate pieces of data to come together to inspire an amazing new thought or idea. We all have that capacity. Yes, it's different for different people. It surfaces and manifests differently. But the brilliant thing about creativity and innovation, the process of creating new and better ideas and then working out which of those are the best and then creating more ideas to make those better ideas happen, it needs all kinds of creative talents to collaborate to both articulate the problem, do the insight work to identify the new opportunities, use that insights to inspire breakthrough thoughts and ideas, build those ideas into concepts or products or eventual ideas that we can go and test and put those ideas to the test, and then from the test learn new things about how we can develop them into still better ideas, and then ways to develop those ideas and make them happen. We all have a part to play. Our creativity, our unique capacity for our kind of creativity, the way we can think like that, the way we can do that with others, ultimately so that we can be creative as and when we need to and become a creative person. Again, we all have that talent. So know this, it's not if you are, it becomes how you are and how you can collaborate that powerfully with other people. Which brings us neatly to number 2, that creativity can't be taught. You know, if we think that creativity is a divine talent, that only a few special people have it, then it follows, the number 2 myth is that creativity can't be taught. The amount of times I go into an enterprise and I'll talk to the senior leaders and we'll talk about unleashing the potential of their people, and we'll talk about the need for innovation and the drive to compete, to gain advantage, to play their role in the grand global problem solving in which their products and services can help deliver new benefits, etc., and gain advantage from that, both purposefully and profitably. You then bump up immediately into this next myth. Well, can creativity really be taught? Isn't it just you are or you aren't? Number 1, yes, creativity can be taught. Here's why. First off, my own experience, I'm a global innovator. 25 years around the world, solving problems, innovating new value, grabbing opportunities for all kinds of clients and industries around the world. I can tell you now, hand on heart, hand on this BIF heart, is everything I do, I have learnt to do. I wasn't innately born an innovator. Innovators aren't born, they're made. Creative people, we're all born with that capacity, but we can nurture and develop into that capacity for creativity in our lives, in our work, in our play, in whatever it is we're wanting to apply it to. How do we do that? We learn to do that. You don't innately know how to articulate a brief, observe and discover new insight, capture your thoughts and ideas when they're happening, and then collaborate and share those with others so together we can make them better. It's this innate capacity that we can learn how to think. When are we thinking? When are those moments happening for us? Learn how to use stimulus and inspiration so that data we're taking in through an open mindset, to bring that in and know that our deeper creative talents will connect those disparate points of data and form a new thought or a new idea on our behalf. If you look at kids, they are wildly imaginative and creative. But if you took that raw talent and said, right, now go and innovate a new product, a new service, solve a problem, they can do it with wild imaginations, but they're so wild. Their ideas that they come up are so out there. There's almost no way to make them happen. You have to have an adult brain that brings all that commercial and performative thinking to take that essence and put it through an innovation process and do it. But what happens over time is that we don't continue to educate and develop that capacity for thinking, doing, and being creative. What happens is we bring in the other talents, the analytical, thinking, the convergent thinking, the judging, the analyzing, that part of our brains that's always looking to get to the one right answer that we're going to go and make happen. That's the bit that gets educated. That's the bit that we get developed. And this capacity for creative thinking, for being wildly imaginative, for turning those into actual thoughts and ideas that we can build upon to make happen, that atrophies. That capacity atrophies, and over time, if we don't continually learn, develop, get educated into it, we get developed out of it. And we end up in adulthood no longer believing that we're a creative person, no longer believing actually that creativity delivers real value, and we start unweighting and only looking for the analysis, for the critique, And so what we can say is that, number one, yes, creativity is both a skill, a process, and a set of behaviors. Those are things that we can learn to grow new capacity for, new confidence in, new capabilities to apply for ourselves, with others, for new value in the world and in our lives. So number one, we are busting this notion that creativity can't be taught. I've been in business for 25 years doing exactly that around the world, and the results speak for themselves. Creative myth number 3, ideas are the easy part. I mean, how often have I heard, it's quite disheartening sometimes, that especially in more entrepreneurial or enterprise businesses, that ideas are the easy part, right? It's making them happen. It's the commercials that are the really hard part. One of my first real roles, I won't tell you what it is, but I worked for an entrepreneur. And I ended up being a production manager. I was running factories. I was the worst production manager in the world because it was a job about details, about specifications, about being very granular in the need for this particular role of running factories. But I did it, learned how to do it pretty average, pretty poor. But the really interesting thing was I wanted to be creative. This was early in a very raw, intuitive talent that was starting to develop in me, was about wanting to think about new brands and new products and new colors and new fabrics and what we could do, etc. with those. And he used to dismiss it. He dismissed that capacity and goes, "Oh, man, ideas are the easy part. It's the sweat and the toil of making those ideas happen. That's the hard part, and there's no need for creativity and all of that process of doing that." And I remember being quite weirded out by that. I had no understanding. I couldn't speak back to it. I didn't have the knowledge of it. But I see this a lot, that having ideas, the capacity to have ideas, is undervalued and is seen as easy. Let me speak to that. So, number one, it's not easy, right? I talk about creativity and innovation being a creative discipline. Because behind this notion that ideas are easy is a fundamental misunderstanding of actually what an idea is. Most people get hung up, or enterprises and businesses, or any kind of organizations, thinking about it in terms of government and education, etc. They're awash with ideas about things we could do. And so they don't want any more ideas because they can't make all of that they've already got happen. And yet they know that what they are doing isn't working. So there's a fundamental mismatch between, what they're trying to do in the world, their purpose and what they're trying to enact, but also this repository of so-called ideas that they've got. My take on that is, first off, most of those ideas are probably shit, right? They're not really ideas. They're just a bit of a thought, a bit of a wish list. I wish we could. Imagine if we could. They're not robust innovation, ideas that have been innovated from both what problem do we actually need to solve, to the insight that can underpin and learn from with all the domain of that problem to get the intelligence of what's working, what's not. We talk about in business, what's the market opportunity? What are the competitors doing? What's our brand about? Who are we about? What's our purpose? What are we trying to do in the world? Who are we trying to do it for? And what, and what are the opportunities, or what problems are they having? What role could we play in solving those? All of that insight work, that's ideas. It's just that you're having ideas about insight. Similar when you're doing the brief that sets up that insight work. You're having ideas about the right problem to solve. And then, of course, you get through that brief, you articulate it, you do the insight. First off, you might have an idea that you're actually setting out to solve the right problem. So let's go backwards, the game of what we call the BIF snakes and ladders. Let's go backwards and solve first that idea about setting up the right idea to go and solve. Then you do more insight that surfaces more intelligence that starts to inspire early thoughts and ideas that you can build upon. It's not the first idea, the first wish. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could? Although that's a great spark to have. It's the 20th iteration. It's the collaboration. It's feeding and building and developing each other's ideas into a robust concept that then you can have an idea about how to go and test. How do we test that idea? When we test that idea, how do we test it? Do we prototype it? Do we co-create it with our audiences to make it better? Do we illustrate it? Do we make it real in some way? Do we imagine if it actually exists and put it on social channels if it exists to get the feedback to see what happens? Then you've got, okay, so now you've got ideas about, well, how did the test go? So now you need more insight into the test, right? Ideas about feedback, ideas about insight, ideas about new intelligence. Then you apply that forward. Then you get into developing upon those insights to make the ideas better. Building, building, building until you get to some idea about the criteria for success for how you would then judge that idea. And then you're into developing the phased plans about to make that idea real. If you think about all of that, and I'm giving you a snapshot through it about just talking about that, but that could be 6 months, a year, 2 years of work. Ideas aren't easy. That is robust, creative, intellectual, demanding, enterprising, analytical, critical work that at BIF we call a creative discipline. To both, yes, create a better idea than currently exists and then do the robust work to develop that idea and make the best idea happen. Ideas aren't easy. They are actually, when you get to it and know actually how to do it, the most demanding intellectual work that draws on your full self to be present, both the creative mindset that we need right through that process and then the more analytical, convergent, coalescing, critical analysis of the ideas we've created. Ideas aren't easy, and you can tell that because the world is awash with shit ideas, and it's only the very few brilliant ideas that stand out. Doing BIF can help your ideas stand out. The fourth myth we want to bust: creativity is a soft skill. Now, you might not have heard of this, but trust me, we hear it all the time. Because in business, it used to be that we could separate notions of, businesses and, learning domains and performative domains would separate things into it's either a hard skill for business or it's a soft skill that we don't really need to worry about. You would have set up in an organization a human resource department that was there to nurture and develop, the human resource within an organization. And yet what the business really wanted was hard performance. And so they measured for hard performance. They measured for, project management, for critical thinking, for analysis, for criteria, for technology proficiency, all the, the accounting, the binary, the will it, profit or loss, will it work, will it won't, do I like it, do I not? The binary approaches that are the hard metrics that says this enterprise or this organization is performing or is it not? And so something like creativity was perceived to be a soft skill. It wasn't part of that harder, more performative domain and therefore too easily dismissed. And when you talk about, the organizations need to be creative or come up with better ideas, like, yeah, I know we need to do that. Go and run a brainstorm over there. Brilliant. Of which nothing really ever came from it because what the business was looking for was hard performance in market that we can measure that says how we're doing. Well, the reason that we now need to bust that and educate people that it's no longer just that, although that's still required. The reason that's coming about now and emerging is because of artificial intelligence, AI. And, you can summarize that for, anything that is robotic and can be automated is being. Anything that can be codified and scripted for and turned into an algorithm will be rapidly done by the business and arguably better done in that way because it's automatic. It's something that can be codified. Now, what that does to jobs and careers and all those sort of et cetera, that's a challenge and needs to be overcome. But what it's going to do is open up all these other skills and domains and work and career, et cetera, that cannot be codified. That is part of our innate human capacity. It can't be automated. It can't be boticized. So the capacity for curiosity, for empathy, for collaboration, for resilience and the grit to carry on, those things are now becoming the hard skills. You know, the World Economic Forum, Deloitte, the top 4, research and market, big global, trend watchers and researchers are now stating that creativity is becoming the number one sought after skill in global business. Why? Because it is a transcendent skill that cannot be codified and cannot be automated. So busting this myth, creativity is no longer a soft skill. It is becoming the new hard skill. And if you have it, you are going to be at the top of the pile to go on and thrive in whatever you're doing. So number 5, this myth around this idea that, creativity won't get me the job, won't get me the promotion, it won't get me the career. So lots of our BIF work now is going in and working with next gen. As we talk about, this idea of developing the next generation's kids into their innate capacity for creativity and their wild imaginations, being able to apply that to solve problems versus get developed out of that. And do what happened to most of us adults and arrive at adulthood and have unbeknownst to us, our creativity is atrophied. But we know, when asked, when you go into a room of people, who here is creative, and no one sticks up their hand, you know that there's a belief and a myth there that creativity won't actually add value to go and get the next role or to go and do the next thing. Let's bust that, because the reason is that with creativity now becoming the number one sought after skill for employers and business and global enterprise, for young people. Why? Because markets are changing so rapidly, so fast. The disruption of across everything that AI and large language models are going to have in every domain. What can be automated is being. What can be codified is being. What can be done by a robot better than us is being. And we're moving into this sort of data and technology realm where we're moving from just, the need for reach and engagement into what we call intimacy. So the things that are going to make us stand out from what AI can go and do in the world and will do in the world is that capacity for us to be creative. The things that AI can't do, the human skills that we have in terms of, yes, our capacity to be curious, to be empathetic, to know others, to care about others, to serve others, our capacity to truly collaborate with others, to be present with others, to hear their idea, their human thought, to take that on board and build upon it and collaborate upon it and work with each other towards sums that are greater than their individual parts through our human talents to do that. Our capacity for resilient, not just on behalf of the idea, in terms of as it gets beaten up and going through the organization and getting tested and developed, how do we maintain our resilience to keep on? The data says we've never had it so good in terms of living so long, in terms of human lifespan, and yet it doesn't feel that way for any of us. Feels like we've never had it so bad, that the world has never had so many problems, and which is feeding, a lot of this, the next pandemic, this, our capacity for mental health and well-being. And so creativity, right? Our capacity to think creatively, to be open to the world, to take in that stimulus, to then reconnect with those deeper parts of us where those thoughts and ideas are being created on our behalf, to let those ideas surface and then have the confidence to speak to those ideas and then develop those thoughts and ideas with others and collaborate them and have the power and substance of our ideas, solve problems, grab opportunities, and to do that on a daily basis, both here, now, what we're going for, and the big future view of the things we can innovate and reach for as we go forward. That is the innate capacities. Employers are looking for it. Therefore, we can front up and say, I am a creative person, I have confidence, I am a problem solver, I am a change maker, I know how to make change happen. I can use my insightfulness to come up with ideas, to then know that I can test and develop those ideas and make them better. I know that it's not the first idea I have. I know that it's me iterating and being open to making those ideas better, both in my own talents and collaborating with others. Those are the skills they're looking for. If you can articulate that and surface that and show that you can do that, you will get the job, you will get the promotion, because that's what enterprises are looking for. The next generation of creative leaders who can lead for that ways of working, be very adaptive and iterative and open to change and flex and flow with it in this game of what BIF calls this game of snakes and ladders. Let me finish this busting this myth wide open with a quick story. I've been doing lots of work down here to explore how to take our, we've got BIF programs in our BIF curriculum and start to take it into schools. And I really wanted to take it into what they call Māori immersion schools. Te reo, they call them kura kaupapa here. Māori immersion schools where all the learning is done in te reo, in the Māori and Indigenous language. And I really wanted to see what part of what I do, create the skills of creativity and innovation and the behaviors, the skills, the process, etc. How would it translate and how could I support that community? So I went down to particularly kura kaupapa, you don't need to know who it is, and I connected with the head there, the head of the school, and he was, he said, I 100% believe in what you're trying to do, Matt, because for my tamariki, my rangatahi, his kids in his school, young people and teens, he said, what I'm trying to do is empower them with enough skills that they can leave this schooling environment and get a job, versus an alternative route, which is end up, on social welfare or in a gang, because that's kind of the pathways that is currently available to them. And we need to smash that and fix that and inspire and offer way more pathways out of school for those young people. And I said to him, look, my hypothesis that I can support you with is if we can give them BIF in the way that's right for them, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, such that they can confidently leave school and go and knock on the door of a potential employer. And when the employer says, what experience have you got? They won't have any, right? They won't have any. They haven't done any work up to that point. What can they bring? What can they offer that potential employer? I said, what I want them to be able to do is stand there and go, I'm a problem solver. I know how to solve problems through the power of my ideas. And they go, wow. Amazing. They go, because I've done this program, I've done this course, here's an example of what I've done. If we can give them that, we're at least empowering them to be able to use their creativity to go and get them a job and so get started. That's what we're trying to do. So, number 5, hope I've put that in context in that it's about the new world we're moving into. Creativity is going to be the skill that you will be able to offer to a job or potential employer or potential promotion, and be noticed as a standout person with the skills that future-proof you and will deliver the advantage that those people are looking for. Okay, so if any of this really connects and starts to speak to it, you go, well, what next? And you go, we've got these 5 myths, we're busting those myths, we're saying that knowing from the coalface of doing global innovation that creativity isn't a rare talent. We all have the capacity for it. It can be taught. You can get better at it. You can learn the skills and the processes and the behaviors to unleash your potential for creativity and collaborate that with others for outstanding new results. All right? Ideas aren't easy. It's an intellectual creative discipline that innovates and solves problems and grabs opportunities. And, it's becoming a hard skill, and it will get you the job, it will get you the promotion. So what to do next? Well, I invite you, come into BIF, go into BIF, look for BIF Masterclass. It's free. Sign up, join us, come with us. We'll give you a free masterclass. What's that masterclass about? It's roughly about a 50-minute program that we filmed when I did it with UNICEF. So it was a free program for UNICEF. Ted DeCat, fantastic innovator in the client, in UNICEF at the time, I said, look, why don't we just come and do a lunch and learn masterclass for your people to introduce them to what we call the 3 disciplines of BIF. Number 1, new product development process, right? What is the innovation process that gets you going? Number 2, thinking, the creative thinking. What is the neuroscience of creativity such that you can start to apply it and accelerate that process? And then touching on number 3, this discipline of cultural transformation of purpose, about how purpose underpins high-performing innovation, both in the organization and in you. So we invite you to come in and take that masterclass. It's free. Sign up so we can start to create a conversation with you and invite you into more of the BIF ecosystem that we have. And then if you love that masterclass, we've got the BIF People program that actually starts to introduce you to the 10-week kind of program that will do those 3 things in terms of introducing you and solving for you. How do you relearn and reconnect and grow new confidence and new capacity and new capabilities, and how you can think creatively for yourself and with others, how you then go and apply that, so do the innovation, which is applied creativity, and then towards how do you actually become that, so that creativity is no longer locked up either in you or in a shitty way in the work environment, in a brainstorm that delivers no value, that actually you start to become a creative person again on a daily basis that can add value for you and others however you need and require it. We'll see you there.